So, March the 7th, 2023, we are going to experience a full moon in the sign of Virgo, co-joined with a star Ashenar, which can bring success and happiness, but also connected to the asteroid Lilith, which asks us to dive really deep into something that literally can take 3 days in order to come to clarity one way or the other. We're also activating Icarus sitting on the sun, the asteroid of falling from great heights of power, Albion, don't do things on autopilot, conjunct Uranus, and all of this forms a Coolio wedge in the sky. We're going to show that to you and talk about what it means for your sign. March the 7th, add 2 weeks as this full moon unfolds before your very eyes. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothian. I am a whole sign house Hellenistic astrologer, also using tropical Western zodiac, not sidereal. I also use asteroids, fixed stars, and I am a total fiend for the asteroids. So you hang out on my channel, you're going to learn a lot about those minor asteroids in the asteroid belt and how they actually do code out for our sky in meaningful ways. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I just FYI, everything you need to know about me, it's in my description box. The classes I'm teaching in the spring, Sky Reader, Be Your Own Astrologer, Time of Your Best Life, my newsletter, and my Patreon community, where you get all of my YouTube content ad-free, ahead of the curve before the general public for $5 a month. Not to mention meeting with me twice a month in Zoom. All right, privately with the group. Okay, let's get going. There's something about this moon that's really captivating me in a way that has some kind of depth to it that I normally don't focus on. Like every full moon is not always feeling this way to me. And so I want to try to explain maybe what I'm feeling. Part of what I'm feeling, and I'm going to show you the picture in a minute, is that Uranus has been hovering back and forth between 14 and 17 degrees of Taurus. And this is a really hot piece of celestial real estate because that's where he connected with Mars and the North Node in the summer, in the end of July, and in the beginning of the month of August. And I call that the big boom. And that is a 15-year reset of some part of your life's direction. I have a video on it. Go check my playlist. That can actually be quite a critical turning point. Even though you may have not known what was turning yet back at the end of July, beginning of August, we don't always know, right? Because it's sort of like if an ocean liner changes direction on the ocean, where that ocean liner ends up in the future, another shore, maybe like 7 days travel later, is going to be quite different, which port it lands in by that degree shift. So there's a degree shift of some magnitude, but only can we see what it means over time. In this case, 15 years of time individually and collectively. So this kind of synodic cycle, it's called North Node, Uranus meeting together, it happens in a rhythm of 15 years. And the last time that rhythm happened was in March of 2007 in Pisces. Now it's coming together for the world. They were rhythmically united in Taurus. And in your life, Taurus is one of your 12 whole sign houses. Now, what this moon is doing is activating that turning point that was connected in some way to something that was going on in your life, perhaps very subtly at the end of July and the beginning of August. Now, because this is a full moon, all full moons connect to the new moon that happened before. So this is a full moon in Virgo. So we want to go back to the new moon in Virgo and maybe also suss out whether there is a connection in that regard to something coming to fullness in this time ahead, in March 7th, add 2 weeks, that was seated back in the new moon. So I'm going to give you the date of the new moon, all right, that happened in Virgo season, right? And we're going to look at those in your own sky as well, as maybe connected somehow. So it's August the 27th, 2022, add roughly 2 weeks. What new seeds were you planting in your life that may have a connection to something coming to fullness in the Virgo chunk of your natal real estate? Now, here's the thing. People get confused with Placidus charts. So, intercepted signs, like tiny little signs this big, one house having 2 signs in it. Don't do that. Look at your chart from whole sign houses. All right, that's the ancient house system. I'm not going to argue why it works, but it certainly only works really well for using Time Lord tools for prediction. So what you want to do is you want to look in my description box. If you don't know how to do this, go check out my free tutorial, how to cast your chart in whole sign houses. You'll need to have a birth time because you'll need to know what your rising sign is, okay? Because once you do that, everything's going to get so much more simple and you won't be messaging me about Hey, wait, my Pisces, I got Pisces in my third and my second house. No, you don't. You don't. So you have one chunk of real estate called your Virgo. Whole sign is a whole house, and it means something in your sky. And we'll be doing that on the all sign. So when astrologers on YouTube go, listen for your sun, moon, and rising. When they say sun and moon, they're pretending your sun is your first house sign. Like if I have an Aries sun, which I do, then astrologers say, listen for your sun sign. They're pretending the sun or the Aries is my first house, right? And when we say listen to your rising sign, we're actually just talking about your rising first whole sign house. So I hope that makes sense. I need to do a video on this for you guys. All right. So let's get rolling. All right. A little sip of my triple ginger tea by Pukka, Pukka. No, I'm not they don't sponsor me yet. And let's get rolling on this. I'm going to show you the picture. Like, I hope I'm intriguing you because I want to say that there's something like a breakthrough energy here with Uranus, but there's also breaking through of autopilot, status quo, things you've been doing the way you've been doing them forever. That's because of Albion with Uranus. Time to get off of autopilot, status quo, breaking through to something new that is different than your same old day in, day out, whatever. And that is Uranus and Taurus. So it's breaking out of that rut in the Taurus zone. And then with Icarus on the sun, for the world, this could be something. You guys know I like to talk about the world. Well, it's like getting close to power and falling. And then with Albion, it's also about breaking out of the rules or in some way. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the world. Sun, Icarus can be a solar figure in the world falling from power, having a downfall of some sort, thinking that they've got it all together, going to great heights and falling. I'm going to be doing a video on the UFO phenomena soon, or the weather balloons or the spy satellites, whatever they think that is. I can tell you it's all in the astrology. I know what it is. I think I do. But it's also connected to diversion tactics, right? Like, I mean, the Nord Stream pipeline thing that got blown up under the ocean by apparently the Biden administration, according to the whistleblowers. Okay. That whistleblower happened when Pluto and Mercury were conjunct. That's exactly what happens when Pluto and Mercury are conjunct. Someone comes on out. That wasn't really a whistleblower. That was a famous journalist who wrote about the Vietnam War, coming out and blowing cover on what may have happened in the blow up of the gas pipeline that led from Russia to Germany. Yeah, it's a big deal right now. Germany's in big uproar and they're investigating it. So that kind of thing going on in the sky, the Nord Stream thing, and the disclosures about that, well, then it leads to a diversion tactic, or there could be a diversion tactic for another reason. I'll give you another example. Imagine there's a fleet of UFOs headed for Earth and only the Hubble telescope can see it. And it'll be here in like 3 years or maybe in 2 weeks. And so now there's this whole, like, let's get everyone talking about UFOs. Right? Because the government never talks about UFOs. They don't have press conferences with the Pentagon going, hey, there's some UFOs here, guys. No, it's always been a cover up. Now it's disclosure. Why? Because maybe it's like warming the public up, to like non-celestial spacecrafts or something, not from Earth, other terrestrial, extraterrestrial. All right, I'm babbling. Let's get on to the sky picture. Let me show you what this looks like. Reminding you to go back if you can to see what was happening the last week of July, first week of August during Uranus North Node conjunct over here in Taurus. And I believe that was around 16 degrees or 17, but it was on the hot spot that you can see Uranus is still sitting in. Uranus is still here. Like, he's just, because he moves so slow, guys. He's like 80 years around the zodiac. So he's been back and forth here retrograding, and he's in like slow-mo, and he's sitting here next to the asteroid Albion, and there's that north node, which moves counterclockwise, where the planets are moving this way. Well, planets are moving counterclockwise and the north nodes are moving clockwise. So the north node's making its way down to the low degrees of Taurus, but it was with Uranus in July and August. And now this is a spot that the moon, okay, that's Albion. How are you doing something in a rote way? How are you stuck in autopilot? I'm going to read the Albion description to you from the software because it can be useful for me not to use my memory on that, because it's not like I am the expert. And if you want to know a lot about asteroids, go check out Alex Asteroid Astrology. The dude has everything. He's the master. He's the guy who turned me on to the whole darn thing when it comes to asteroids. I saw him at NCGR back in the day, before the pandemic, and went to one of his talks, and then I was captivated. So kudos to him. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you about is I'm going to tell you about two things. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lilith, and I'm going to talk about your sky, I promise, but I want you to understand what's going on here before I break it down into a pithy all signs, all right? Well, let's go with Icarus. The sun is on Icarus. His wings melted. His dad was Daedalus, the inventor. He thought he could fly to the sun and he fell. Okay. So there's a kind of sense of the hubris or the arrogance to rise to the level of the sun, the gods, whatever, super high level power. Wings will melt and you can fall. Well, that could be a fall of a solar figure, which usually means world leader from position of power. Then we move into the Uranus story because Uranus is co-joined with Albion. So let's talk about that. I'm on the software looking for the details. So give me a second. Of course, I know it's there because I pulled it up just when you need to find it. Yay. So Albion, according to my AstroGold software, which is Asteroid FYI 15760, the ancient name for Britain, the world above, the high hill where the giants once lived, fixation, doing the same thing over and over, going through the motions, running on autopilot, or automatic defense mechanisms, or finally accepting dogma because it comes from on high. Well, we have a leader falling from power with melting wings or something solar, like a powerful figure, usually governmental often, like king-like, and we have accepting dogma because it comes from on high, conjunct Uranus, disruption. What on high dogma is coming to a disruptive close? It could be anything. I'm not going to speculate. It could be dogma around the pandemic. It could be good dogma around the reason there's a war in Ukraine. It could be dogma about, the UFO phenomenon. It could be dogma about anything. Some kind of leader incited dogmatic structure of thought and belief that may be disrupted in the 2 weeks that follow this moon, if not further disrupted, because there's a lot of disruption happening right now. Now, Lilith is sitting as well with the moon. Now, she's kind of like, this is not the black moon Lilith. This is the demon version of Lilith, or the asteroid. Excuse me. So she's the first wife of Adam. She was, gave up on Adam, wasn't getting along, ran off to the desert, became a consort of a demon. Then she was turned into it. 3 angels chased after her and tried to get her to come back to the fold, and she said no. And then she ended up becoming the mother of demons. And she also was known as the one who would, when there was a baby born, so she's associated with crib death, right? Or sudden infant death syndrome. She had 3 days to decide if the baby's life would continue. Now, I know that's a macabre, but I want to bring it up because, a moon is 3 days, right? A new moon and a dark moon, a full moon and a new moon are about 3 days long. And Lilith is associated with a 3-day window of time in which some kind of pivotal decision can be made. She's also feminism because she represents the disqualified, demonized feminine. So there could be a strong female uprising about something going on in the 2 weeks after the moon. But there's also that weird 3-day story where, will this infant liver die, and Lilith has dominion over that, to make me wonder, about what in our individual lives and collective has kind of a full moon threesomeness around it, a 3-day window of some fullness that's pretty exact, which there's some kind of clarity about that moon. Yeah, just a thought. Okay, all these are thoughts. I'm just doing my best to interpret it all. And am I sharing that with you guys? Shoot, all this time was I talking without it? I think I was sharing. Yeah, I was sharing. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about the wedge for a minute and then we'll move on. This is where this sun is sitting and the moon is across the way reflecting it as a full moon. That's Lilith beside the moon. Let's do the annotation if I can. Last time I tried to annotate, it wouldn't let me. So let me give it a shot. Yeah, because it wants to be white. Like, I've never had that happen where the color of my annotation is white. Well, I'll give it a shot again. Maybe I can change it somehow. Yeah, it's still white. It's so funny. I haven't ever figured out how to change the color. It's never done this before. So, well, that's just one of those things. Let me try one more time. Format blue. How about red? Okay. Still wants to annotate in white. You can't make this stuff up, right? Well, try one more time. But what the frig? Draw. Okay, big fatties. We want a color. Okay, let's try it again. Nope. Yep, nope, not gonna work, hey? Alrighty, I'll try one more time. I'm wasting your time, so let's forget it. You watch my cursor circle the moon and Lilith. Watch over across the way, the sun sitting with Icarus. That's Icarus right there, pointing down to earth, falling from the sky, wings are melting. Wings are melting. And that's Neptune, of course, fantasy, illusion, delusion, misperception, misinformation, deception, lies, confabulation, truth speak, groupthink, with the ways the world will create the illusion of something that's not real. That's the downside of Neptune. And then Mercury over here, news, what's going on in the news cycle. So there's definitely some kind of news going on to do with themes that are Neptunian, themes that are leader-ish. And of course, Pisces is about things that are a bit confusing as all hell, deceptive as all hell, etc. This moon is on March the 7th. And at the time, Saturn is going to be moving into the same part of the sky. But at the time, Saturn is still 29 degrees or anaretic of the 11th house of Aquarius. At the time of the actual moon, although within hours he will move into the 12th house, he is still in the 11th. Okay. Then he's going to come in and clean things up. You can almost think of Saturn like the boss is here, the taskmaster, the stern one. He's going to try to deal with whatever this moon is really about. So he'll be kind of hanging in this place where the sun was for 3 years, but it's just in the kind of aftermath of the 2 weeks, the fallout from the moon. Saturn can be rules, regulations, restraint, constriction, but it can also be Saturn coming in and really kind of like busting through something in a kind of harsh way. I'm not sure how else to interpret it. If I had to say, what is the sun is like the president or the prime minister, and the Saturn is the governing, bureaucracy, the bodies, the civil service, stuff like that. So yeah, like even institutions like CIA, NSA, whatever, these are literally, civil servants, and that's more Saturnian. So what kind of those energies within a fallen public figure is going to show up, where there's like or maybe even just the legislative branches, of the Congress could be Saturnian already. In other words, hearings, okay? Saturn coming into the Pisces will be hearings of some sort coming down the pipeline, most likely already. FYI, this full moon, because we're going to do your sign, I promise. This full moon is happening in the sign of Virgo. And in the United States Sibylle natal chart, which is the one about the signing of the Declaration of Independence, that is in the United States, the 10th house. And that's the house of the visible public reputation of the nation and its leaders. And there's a full moon light shining up there with some Lilith overtone. So it's pretty intense. We'll see what that looks like. Finally, before we do all signs, that's the wedge. And the wedge is a kinetic energy of the tension between an opposition of sun and moon, right? Full moon, and breaking through energy, breaking through at the point of Uranus and Albion. So and North Node. So as I go through this, I'll be talking about your breakthrough point, which is your Taurus zone, and also your fullness point, which is your lunar zone. Alrighty. So we're talking about the Virgo and the Taurus part of your chart. Now, people have asked me sometimes to go through and show you the picture, and other people have asked me not to. I think today I will show you the picture to you. I don't know why, I just feel in the mood for it. So I'm going to go back and do that. But sometimes on a really long video, I will also just put your sign up, right? So you'll just be looking at a little picture of me with your sign. I think because this is a wedge and you'll get to watch the wedge move around the chart, I'll do it that way. Now I'm going to warn you, this is not one of my long videos. If you're in here and you're in the live premiere with me, by the way, and I thank you all to all of my regulars, please do hit my like button. That really does help the channel grow and helps my algorithm, basically. So I'm going to do the all signs. It feels like the right thing to do by showing you the chart today. Not my MO every time, but every now and then with a moving wedge, it's kind of fun to watch it move, right? If I do say so myself. So I'm just setting up on the back end because I want to get rid of Cupido. I forgot that he was in there, or whatever that asteroid was, or that thing. And I want to get rid of the South Node because it's distracting us. And now I'm moving all the way back to the software, and we are going to do starting with Aries, of course. And I just want to change my settings from, excuse me, I'm in slow-mo today, guys. It's been a really interesting day. I am changing my settings to move the house system. Yes. I'm just reminding myself what the heck I'm doing. Now, as you know, whole sign houses. Yes. Some of you know that I have just recently sworn off worrying about people who are critical of me and trolling me and just sending them love or deleting them. And this is my new commitment to myself. So hold me to it, would you? Trolls are trolls. People are mean. And if that happens in my life, that's okay. I just am no longer, I've got my Teflon raincoat on, and I'm no longer going to fight with them, troll the trolls, argue, or consider them. So I'm really sitting with this as a new way to approach being on a public forum like YouTube. And please encourage me not to fight with them, because if I don't keep to my own word, then what good am I, right? All right, like I gotta stick with the thing I say I'm gonna do just for my very own self at the very, very least, okay? Let's pull this up and share the screen as we go through all signs. I could have kept it on there, but I had to go back and change some settings. So I was trying to entertain you while I did that. All right, so Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Oops. Yeah, there we go. So in your sky, you're seeing this 12th house constellation. Obviously, this is very subtle. You can't see that house. Imagine you're sitting here. There's a partition. It's in your blind spot, like when you're driving. 12th house and is a blind spot for you, okay? It's called the aversion house, one of the aversion houses. And so you may not see exactly what's going on, but you may sense it, because it could be very much about a spiritual awakening here, or some kind of sensing into something deeper beneath the surface, because Neptune here is a very enlightenment-y transit. If you're an Aries rising, which is always most accurate in particular, this has a vibe. This is like you've been going through 2011 until 2026, basically, an enlightenment transit. And Aries sun and moon will feel that same thing, but the Aries rising feel it even more so, as it is your identity that is, connected to that house. You may find that with this Icarus energy here too, there may be something that is going to kind of melt away. But is that a bad thing with Neptune? Maybe not. Maybe this kind of melting, falling energy in the 12th house of self-undoing, addiction, self-sabotage is wonderful. Maybe you'll fall from an addiction, and who wouldn't want that? And messages from your dreams, pay attention, or your meditations with Mercury up here. You could be getting divine downloads as well. Of course, I want to talk about the fact that the moon is sitting here with her kind of Lilith archetype that I talked about in the intro. She's full. She's capitalizing on the new moon back in the end of August last year. This is really an important fullness in the house of your karmic debts, your service to the world, pets and leases. On a practical note, look for what unfolds there in the 2 weeks that follow. Things to do with the work you're here to do, and your health as well. Health and health routines in particular. The kinetic energy is breaking through from the 6th house, making me think this is very much for a lot of Aries. 2nd house, to the 6th house. This is a lot to do with your voice in the world, your speech, your vocation, and your work, the way you wish to do the work you do in order to secure the revenue and resources you need. There's a lot of breakthrough energy here. Something shifting, something big is changing, and you're not going to do autopilot. You're not going to go on rote anymore. You're going to shift it up. Now, as an Aries sun and moon, that could very well affect how I do my YouTube channel, because I have a few ideas about what I want to change toward, which is my deep code astrology, to look more at the awakening, enlightenment, and the deeper nature of reality as it pertains to astrology. And as I look at this for all of you Aries, not just people like me online, I would say that you're going to have a disruption in a positive way as you see a fullness in the fallout of this full moon in new ways to do your work. Kind of go back, of course, to what was happening, as I mentioned, at the end of August. I'll use me as an example. That was when my channel started to really take off, July and August, particularly August, September. And so I could associate the Uranus, the sudden upswing, in something I'm doing in my professional life and the income that came from that, with something else furthering that, or fullness on that. A fullness is also a completion. So what is a new thing that's being invited in from the full moon? In your work, in your service, in your pets, maybe I'll get a kitty cat, I would love one, in your tenancies, in your debts, maybe you can massively, suddenly, excitingly eliminate a debt, for example, credit card, bank, mortgage, something like that. That's simple. I hope that makes sense for you. And we're moving on to the next sign. I will get this done before my client. So we are going to do all signs in 40 minutes. Alrighty. So for the Taurus people, as you can see, you're having a big full moon, capitalizing or sequencing maybe off the new moon at the end of August of 22. So fullness is here in your 5th house of pregnancy, children, independent business enterprise, sexuality, joy, and romance, as well as just feeling the muse, M-U-S-E, speaking to you. And as this full moon is really brightly opening up here with Lilith next to it, and I know like that she's a rebel, she's a feminist, but she's also that 3-day window goddess with her special 3 days. What's going to happen in those 3 days of this full moon? That's coming to a fullness here. And it's reflecting a falling Icarus, melting wings energy in your 11th house. Now, your 11th house can be friends and allies, and maybe one of them will fall from grace in your life or an authority figure in your life as well, especially a father figure. The sun can be your father. And yet also this is a house of great financial gain from a career path and maybe from your 10th house. So maybe that's also experiencing some downdraft and fall, but that's okay because there's something new happening. It's kinetic, it's exciting. It's opening up a doorway or a gateway so you can break out of your autopilot, your dogmas, your rote way of doing things, your kind of, mindless autopilot way of being in your thoughts, in your actions, in your emotions, in your whole deportment. It's happening as you, in you, for you. Now, of course, Taurus ascendant will feel it the most, especially, of course, if your ascendant is anywhere near the 15th degree. Same with sun and moon. You'll feel it really strongly. Your sun or moon is near 15 Taurus. I wonder how my daughter will feel this because her sun is at like 9 or 10 of Taurus. I should know that. And of course, she might get wind of some really radical shifts of her solar identity because that's her sun, which could be a father relationship issue or her purpose in some way. I also would point you to the fact that if you are going to think about how you were feeling in July, last week, and beginning of August, that hot spot of the sky is reignited. Go back to those events in the last week of July, the first week of August. Consider it from the framework of your children, your fertility, your romantic life, because we're talking about that moon in the 5th, which was a new moon in the summer. Your independent business enterprise. It's also money luck. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to win the lottery. By the way, I'm not actually. I don't know that this is a lottery win chart, but what kind of money luck could befall you? Could be a question mark, given we have the 11 and 5th axis activated and they're both money houses. All right. I think that's all I have to say. Yeah, this is going to be quite the short video. For a change, guys, I can go long. All right, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Full moon, full light, fullness in your 4th house of home, children, not children, home, childhood, your childhood stories, your parents, how it was to be a child, things you were raised to learn and adopt from your family of origin and ancestral line. Here is also called the house of the mother. So a full moon in the house of the mother could actually just be about some connection event thing going on with your mom, but it can also just be about your life, of your domestic life, your private life, and your real estate life, and your residential life, your domestic life, meaning where you live. So go back as a Gemini, rising most particularly, especially if your rising is anywhere near the, let's say, 16th degree where this moon is happening. I'm progressing the chart forward, but it's full at 16 degrees of Virgo. And if you have anything around that 16th degree, this is a big deal. And so what is going on with your ascendant sun or moon? Well, it could be an exciting fullness around your residential life. You could have a new opportunity for a new home or something full happening in your home, something beautiful. Go back to the last week of August too, because that was when it was a new moon here. What was the new seed being planted in the home zone of your chart? I wonder too, what is the Icarus in the 10th house of reputation and career for you Geminis? I mean, could a boss fall from power? Could someone get fired in the workplace? Could some superior person over you melt their wings and fall? And does that benefit you in some way? Or could you be the one falling and melting away from a position of power? Maybe that's what you need to do right now. And what kind of news cycle is around that with Mercury up there? All the news is fit to print about your fall from power or someone in your workspace or career space falling from power. Also, you can see that you have the breakthrough of the wedge in your 12th house. Well, that could be very important if you have online. If you make money by doing barter and trade from foreign lands, that's a significant placement where you're going to have some breakthroughs from career and home-based stories. But also you may find that that's a very subtle psychological, spiritual place where you're having spiritual awakening, spiritual breakthroughs, new insights around your whole purpose in life, basically. So some Geminis are going in that direction. And lastly, if you want to go off to a foreign land or travel somewhere, because Mercury is involved, he's a patron protector of travelers, even in a sign of his discomfort. He might be useful up there. And for some Geminis, it has to do with travel. Okay, but it could be very dreamy, enlightenment-y travel for some spiritual reason, or planning that trip, but often to a foreign shore with the 12th house placement. And last but not least, certainly pay attention to the dream messenger Mercury in a sextile with this new moon, full moon energy to the house of the insight you can get from your sleeping dreams at night. All right. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. So in your sky, there is a full moon in your third house. Yay. This is something that may be taking off from the August 27th new moon and going back to the 2 weeks after that moon in August to early September. What is this about for you now that's in a full state or a completion state or a ripening? Because it's about siblings. It's about travel, short distances. Third house is about skills-based learning, taking a course. You may have a hiccup. It can also be about, your extended family, right? Cousins and uncles and nieces and aunts. So what's happening in this part of your sky that's going to fruit out, and be big, be bright, have a 3-day maybe window of importance. So don't forget, we're talking March 7th, add 3 days because of the Lilith co-joinment here. Don't forget, she's also a bit of a troublemaker, rebel demon female energy. So you might be, because it's lunar and you're lunar ruled, the moon is your ruler, very incited to take on a very kind of like bust the patriarchy mindset in the days that follow, the 2 weeks that follow this moon. You're going to see that Icarus is up here with the sun in your 9th house of God, truth, faith, religion, and foreign lands. First of all, you may have a meltdown and some kind of interesting news that's kind of fuzzy because of Mercury being in debility around higher education, foreign lands, book publishing, or some belief in a faith of God or truth. Some kind of, you may have a cherished belief fall apart, like fall from the sky. You know what I mean? Like the melting wings of some belief structure or religious faith or that kind of thing, or even a sense of what your true purpose is in life, the dharma of your life could be melting down here. And at the same time, you're receiving a kinetic breakthrough in the house of great gains from your career. Now, if you're a professor, teacher, guide, mentor, healer energy, even sometimes the 9th house brings that up, you may find that this breaking through energy, kinetics, yay you, in the 11th house up here could be really lovely. It could bring you some massive financial gains, but because you're breaking away from something you've done in a traditional, rote, unquestioning, repeat, rinse, repeat way, or you could have some kind of breakthrough through a friend who acts as an ally or an eldest sibling. And so it could involve some kind of financial gain for you as well. So whatever that looks like, eldest sibling, friends, some kind of sudden financial gain coming through your sky that helps you restore or reframe even some of your basic life philosophy. And some of you definitely can travel. Both 9 and 3rd houses are travel houses. So some travel plans could be hatched or some travel can actually happen in the 2 weeks that follow the moon. Especially with Mercury, a travel protective god in the 9th house of travel to foreign shores. So travel is indicated in the wake of this moon. Just for some of you Cancers, obviously everyone's sky is unique. All right, so the Leo people, having this full moon in your 2nd house, this is your earnings and possessions. So this is how you get the money you need to make food, shelter, and water, survival happen, but also thrival if you're up to the right game. And go back to August 27th, as I said in the beginning, what are you kind of maybe taking further? What is becoming fruitful that was seeded back then in a money earnings way? And also you can look at this as maybe there's some melting energy and shared resources with a spouse. The wings of Icarus are melting. Maybe also monies you were relying on coming from investments or grants or inheritances could be having a meltdown here of some sort. And now you're looking at maybe this fullness of your earning strategy being the critical place. I certainly would say be cautious with Neptune and undignified Mercury about any weird investment possibilities. Don't jump into some stock that looks dicey, or just have your wits about you in that regard. Then you can say, where is this kinetic breakthrough happening on that sensitive point that was active in the end of July and the beginning of August? That is your career and reputation. That is your actions in the world. That is what people see you doing. So that's going to have a big boom energy of something exciting because Uranus is unexpected. I don't know what it is. Lightning bolts of change up there. That's for sure. Getting out of the rut. Albion, the status quo, the autopilot, but breakthrough energy as well in the career zone and in the money axis. So a lot of Leos, it's about money and career energies breaking, fulminating, breaking through in the 2 weeks that follow the full moon. All right. And yeah, and Uranus up here, it may not just be about you. If you work in a hierarchy, it could be some dramatic change in the corporation, in the structures of the corporation, because Saturn's coming in there as well. And well, not in there, but Saturn's doing his thing in Pisces over here, and he'll look over here. So I don't know. There could be some like financial restructuring in a business or corporate structure that's going to impact you, but I think in a positive way. All righty. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. In your sky as a Virgo rising, especially, and especially if your rising sign is anywhere near 16 where the full moon happens, it's a full moon in the house of you. And you get this every year, just like you had the new moon in the house of you back on August 27th, add 2 weeks. What things were happening then that you were planting new seeds about health and body and awareness and sense of self that are now coming to a nice fullness with Lilith, a sort of bombastic feminine archetype with a 3-day special window working in tandem with this moon, maybe on your behalf, especially if you've ever felt demonized or put down or discredited as a woman. This could be your I am woman, hear me roar full moon. And of course, if you have a sun and moon in Virgo, it's going to be also true. But remember, the sun can be about father figure, and life purpose and career. And moon could be mother figure, your domestic, quiet, private life, or your nest, or your, safety needs and emotional needs. So that's why I like to focus you guys onto the rising sign every time. But this full moon is definitely all about you. And you can see that there's going to be a pulling of the Icarus energy, the melting wings of a solar figure in your 7th house. Now, if you're with a partner, that can be a melting in their life. They're melting down. They're like, whoa, the wings are melting, and you're just like over there watching them. Maybe it's not even about you. Or it could be a client's having their wings melt, or a significant relationship figure, not necessarily even a father, because this is the 7th house of the significant romantic relationships, sometimes business partnerships as well. So maybe there's somebody in your life, like your partner, who's melting, right? Their wings are melting, and you're just on the sidelines over there in a full moon status with a full moon on you. So don't always think the chart's all about you. But if they're melting, of course, you're going to feel it. And they're falling from their own sky, you're going to feel it. For example, they could get fired from a job, or they could lose a job, or they could have some other situation that's difficult in the 2 weeks that follow the moon. But you're having breakthrough energy because of all of this, because it's all kinetically pointing to your 9th house. Now, foreign lands, foreign shores, academia, and book publishing are 9th house meanings. Also your beliefs and your faith in the divine, and you're getting out of a rut. You're breaking out of an autopilot. You're doing something unexpected. Unexpected things are happening. So we've got Albion, the dogma is breaking apart. If you ever thought religious dogma was your thing, good luck with this one. So any kind of dogmatic autopilot rote vibe in your 9th house is getting disrupted by Uranus, but it's also a kinetic yay point for this full moon. All right. My daughter is a Virgo rising. She's an academic. She's in her university situation. Maybe there's going to be a dramatic change in the university stuff that I don't know. I can't predict it. Why? Because Uranus is involved March 7th. But this can also be really positive. It could be an opportunity for her to travel to a foreign land. It's so exciting. So Uranus doesn't always bring negative things. Okay. Maybe her partner quits his job and says, let's go travel. And she goes, yeah, let's do that. Let me finish my studies first. So all kinds of thoughts here. But certainly it's an interesting time for the Virgos. Having this Uranus disruption in a flow toward the 1st house can be about positive changes as well. Because it's the house of the father figures in Indian astrology, Vedic astrology too, there may be some disruption in a relationship with a solar figure, like a father figure, as well as a partner or business partner. But there's all kinds of love up to that Uranus. So I feel everything happening here is 80% positive, The only thing I could say is you could have a massive spiritual awakening here too, if that's your cup of tea, especially if your ascendant Virgo is anywhere between, I would even give it 12 to 19 degrees of Virgo. Pretty well, you could have a eureka aha about God, truth, wisdom, and the meaning of life. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. In the sky, you have a big full moon. It is culminating in your 12th house of spirit. 12th house of spirit, your 12th house of your past lives, karma, things to do with your defeating, self-undoing, self-sabotaging stuff. Often it's addiction. Sometimes it's just thought patterns. Sometimes it's just karmic patterns. So what kind of full light is shining here in which you are wanting to shift that? All right, Libra, time to get away from that. And it's also a house of international revenue from foreign lands. So maybe if that's in your business model, you could have full light here. Go back to August 27th for the seed you planted in this part of your sky now becoming full. Also, there's a possibility that somebody or something is melting their wings in the house of work. Colleagues, coworkers, or if you're a boss, your employees could be melting down, falling from power, or you may have a sort of meltdown, falling away from something to do with a pet, a tenancy, a lease situation, or even to do with health and health protocols. Neptune here can make you confused about health issues, and Mercury can give you false information. Don't believe all of your blood work in this time frame. Double check and have second opinions. And then Uranus is jolting things from the money house, right? But this is more positive because it's a wedge. So you could have a stock takeoff. You could have a sudden chunky money coming through the sky here. And it may allow you to pay off a debt or release yourself from a debt, including a bank loan or a mortgage. And it can be also about breaking out of the ruts that you have in terms of your investment monies, your 401k money, money that you don't hold to yourself, your spousally shared resources, breakthroughs away from the ruts, excitement, unexpected developments in this part of your sky. With Uranus, it's so hard to predict what it is. I say it helps you with your health. It helps you with your debt restructuring, your debt elimination, that kind of thing. If you're into the occult mysteries, tarot, magic, astrology, that's the 8th house. So there could be some breakthroughs here, ahas, eurekas, as you break away from any kind of, rut in this part of your life. Certainly for a lot of people, though, it's a money story, a money breakthrough story. And it can involve inheritance. There's no doubt about it. It is an inheritance house. All right, moving on. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. In your sky, you're seeing a story of a full light, full moon in your 11th house of good spirit, a very positive house. This is the best place to have a full moon, and it sextiles your identity, especially if you're Scorpio rising anywhere near that 16th degree where the moon is going to be full. So just pay attention to the 3 days that follow in particular, because of the Lilith energy on that moon. What kind of women in power could bring you favors? What kind of allies are showing up? What kind of benefits are you getting from your friends? What kind of great financial gain may you suddenly accrue from your career path as well? We got Uranus here. What kind of contract could you sign out of the blue because of Uranus in your 7th house of business, clients, partnerships, and spousal stuff? Your spouse may have a sudden shocking breakthrough in their lives to get out, or main squeeze partner, committed love person, Uranus, sudden shocking disclosure, or sudden shocking events, or sudden exciting events in the life of your business or love partner as well, but leading to a situation that allows you to have greater financial gain. It may be in both of your lives. With a Icarus melting down in your 5th house, I wonder, that can be about some kind of melting down or falling away or whatever in pregnancy, fertility, romance, and joy, and pleasure, and leisure, and sexuality. Is it a bad thing? Not necessarily, because the wedge kinetically goes to your marriage house. So, there's so many ways it can play out, Scorpios. It could be like, you falling away from a love story that melts down around you because it was delusional, like Neptune there, but it leads you towards the true partner for you. Or it could be something like an independent business enterprise contract for your creations as an artist that leads, this is like, did you write a book? The moon is the lord of the book publishing house, and now you get a contract for your baby creation. It doesn't have to be a real baby, all right? So, or things are suddenly developing with your children that are unexpected, but bring some kind of goodness to all, Uranus is definitely looking at the house of children, bringing positive, unexpected development. So it's not always about you, but in a sense, because this axis of 11 and 5 are both luck houses, and they're also money houses. And the 7th can be with other people, business, love partners, and contracts. I'm going to finalize with some of this can be unexpected financial money stories that work out really well for you in the 2 weeks after the moon. And go back, of course, to August 27th, add 2 weeks last year to see if you can connect the dots. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. For you, there is a big, full, beautiful moon in your career house, your 10th house of reputation, with a little bit of kick-ass Lilith energy. This is all happening March the 7th, and add 3 days. Now, you know, this energy at 16 degrees where the moon is on the actual day of the full moon, because this chart's progressed, this can open up some kind of full opportunity, like advancement, a raise, promotion, or a completion. Like maybe it's time to leave that part of your life, that job, that work, that situation is no longer right for you. But either one can work. And because there is also a kind of melting in the 4th house with the wings of Icarus falling down, something to do with your home, homeland, home life, domestic life, could be in a state of, fall, like, high hopes or high expectations kind of crumbling or melting. And so you just consider that, but it could be a good thing, right? It could be exactly what's needed, because you had an delusion or confusion about it because of Neptune, Mercury. And now there's a melting down. You realize that's not going to work. And then what? Well, maybe it's going to lead to a new home because you've got a sextile from Uranus to the house of tenancies and debts, but tenancies as well, like renting a home, for example. So I'd say for some of you Sagittarius, there's some kind of change around the word home, and also around the word career and reputation, and also around the word maybe debt relief, pets as well. 6th house, sudden new pet that you're going to bring home, but there's a melting there. Like then you find out, I don't know, this house doesn't suit a pet. I think some of you guys are moving though. There's this Neptune transit looking for your dream home for a long time in the bottom of your sky. Now that Saturn will be entering in there, especially, coming right after this moon and staying for 3 years, you're trying to find a solid dream home, a solid new place to land. May not be what you expect. Uranus is getting involved. Go back to the last week of July, first week of August as well, when Uranus was also jolting things in your 6th house. I think that you may think you know where you want to live, but you might be wrong. Some of you Sagittarius are in that question mark, right? Let the universe unveil the right answers to you. Don't jump to conclusions. With Mercury here, don't sign a lease yet, and don't buy a house yet. Mercury is out of dignity. Wait till he leaves Pisces, okay? I don't have the date in my mind right now when he leaves Pisces. I can't just pull it out of a hat, but just Mercury and Pisces in the 4th house with Neptune is you won't see the fine print on the contract for the rental or the purchase of a home. Alrighty, moving on. So Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising, especially rising sign anywhere near 16 degrees. There is a big full moon in your 9th house of God, truth, wisdom, and foreign lands. If you've been like my Capricorn rising ex-husband trying to move to Portugal, there's something going on. 9th house is visas. And, you have to finish the visa process maybe, or complete a visa, or get your travel arrangements going, and look back to the new moon on August 27th, what you were doing around those themes in the 2 weeks that followed, or even what you were doing the last week of July, beginning of August. These themes are repeating now. For some of you, it may have to do with going back to school, higher education, may have to do with book publishing and foreign travel, or getting a fullness around spirituality and what you believe in life. There's a melting in the 3rd house. What's melting down in your sibling relationships, aunts, uncles, cousins, things to do with your local neighborhood. What could be melting here regarding plans for travel? It could have maybe the ticket isn't going to work. Maybe the airline cancels a trip. All of this is possible in the couple of weeks after this moon, particularly the first 3 days because of a Lilith activation. And secondly, what is this kind of disruption in the house of children? Sexuality, your 5th house, the house of romance and inspiration or independent business enterprise. So something is shifting over here, but it's taking the tension between the sun and the moon and giving you something positive in the 5th house. 5th house is money that comes through speculation, like lotteries and games, money that comes through risky endeavors. You can have a sudden breakthrough financially here. Could also come through a sibling, something positive financially, or an aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, and nephew. Out of the blue, left fielder, but in a good way. Or your children have some really exciting news as well, but it's helping them break out of a rut. Similarly, if you've been in any kind of romantic or sexual rut and Uranus and Albion are there and you've been like doing it the same old vanilla way or something's going to break through here and you're going to do it differently as well. Certainly, there could be leisure travel or romantic trip travel here that gets disrupted, but it all leads to something full and positive in the ninth house anyway. So go with the flow on that. I am a one of you, Aquarius rising, sun, moon people. I'm Aquarius rising, and we're experiencing a big full moon in our 8th house of chunky money. Now, I always call it chunky money because it comes in so many different chunks, right? Inheritance, tax rebates, investment portfolios, spousal shared resources, business partner monies, insurance payouts. Okay, I'm just making a bunch of things up, but it's not your earned income. And so here comes a full chunk of money for you. You planted seeds for it somehow back in August 27th at 2 weeks. You may not realize that until you get the chunk of money coming at you. Because it's a chunk of money, it can also be things like winning money from that 5th house because, you win money in a chunk. So there's that too. So in comes some sort of big, full chunk of money. That's all I'm going to say. And with Lilith there, it could be because you were doing it your way, your own feminine, rebellious, woman here, you roar. But, Lilith gives you that 3-day window. Is the baby going to be given life or not life, says Lilith in the first 3 days after a baby's born. Boy, she's a hard taskmaster. So what is the 3-day window, March the 7th, at 3 days that you're really fulminating, percolating, and filling out the blanks in that 8th house of chunky money? I'll probably be doing my taxes as an Aquarius rising, but maybe I'll realize I overpaid, I prepaid, and I'll be getting money back. But that seems like such a small little bit of chunky money. I'm going to hope for something bigger. Where's there a melting? Well, there's a melting in the earned income house. Now, is that a bad thing? Maybe yes, maybe no. Are you really wanting to work that hard to make a paycheck? I'll use me as an example. My booking calendar is now closed June, July, and August. Why? Because I'm full until June, and I don't want to be booked out that far in advance, obligated to see people 6 months out. And so, some people are actually booking me in September, but I will open the calendar up right again, and I'll let people book me in probably for July because I'll take June off. But if I look at someone like me with a melting wings in the house of earned income, maybe it's just simple. I mean, it's also the house of possession. Some of us could have a possession meltdown, like your car just suddenly stops working or, whatever. But on the other hand, or the home that I'm living in can be considered a possession in a way, I guess. But, for some of us, it's some kind of dramatic kind of dropping down, melting and shifting, maybe in the 2 weeks after this moon around income and earned income. It doesn't have to be bad because there's a kinetic wedge to the beautifully exciting energy of Uranus, who's already seasoned this part of our sky. And I said in my channel, we're the nomads. We've been moving since 2018 when Uranus entered here. And somebody got back to me and says, well, I'm an Aquarius, that hasn't happened, and you're projecting yourself. And I'm going to explain that to you guys now. If you're early born Aquarius rising, with your ascendant in the first 10 degrees, then 2018, 19, and 20, your home life might have been disrupted. If you're middle Aquarius, with your ascendant degree, most accurate, I don't know, like in the 10 to 20 degrees, you're being disrupted now. And then later on, the 20 to 29 degree Aquarius will fill in the most disruption as we move towards 2024, 25, 26. So yes, it will hit you eventually. Uranus is going to square your ascendant. Get ready. So this energy for me is active really, really tightly now. I have a 16-degree Aquarius ascendant. Some of you listening will have something similar. We know that there's a lot of disconnection, disruption, and unpredictability around where we're living. Now, I wouldn't be surprised with this. In the 2 weeks after the moon, the owner doesn't suggest she wants to come back and wants to nullify my lease or something. Like, this is the kind of stuff that can happen. I'm renting this place till mid-July. Can she do that? Technically, maybe, maybe not. Now, the other thing here is that you can have an exciting, unexpected, positive shift regarding the theme of where you live, because the 4th house is your domestic and private life. And it may not be a change of your home, but what you do in your home, right? So you're on autopilot, you're on rote, you're on, the rote autopilot system of domestic, private, home life stuff. Albion, Uranus disrupt the autopilot of things you're doing in and from your home or regarding where you're living. but it seems to flow in a positive way towards your money and your money. Both money houses will receive blessings from whatever Uranus is trying to disrupt, change in our fourth house placement. If I had to use me an example one more time, I hope that doesn't bother you, some of you. It's like, are my wings melting because I'm earning so much money doing one-on-one readings, for example? No, not really. I mean, I haven't melted yet. But ultimately, I'm only one person. I can only do so many. So that would be an example of something that I was reaching for the sun, but my wings are starting to melt, right? I don't have that much psychic energy to give away. And I think that you're all going to find as an Aquarius rising, there's something about the earnings and possessions part of your life that you realize you were striving for the sun, but you can't get there without melting. It's not so much that it's negative. It's like a truth. A truth is dawning on you. Your voice, vocation, and calling is also second house. You may be re-envisioning your calling in this lifetime as a result of this full moon solar energy opposition. Alrighty, moving to the last sign. And that is first and always first, Pisces. Pisces, you guys are having a full moon in your seventh house of significant relationships. This is your marriage partner or your business partners, and sometimes your significant client relationships or the audience and marketplace for your career. Full moon here can bring you success, popularity with the people. It always can do that every year around this time. However, the other side of this is that you may also be experiencing some kind of completion with a client or with an audience or with a partner. And go back to the 27th or so of 22 August, because that was when that moon was new. So what new beginnings happen in the seventh house? Seventh house is legal contracts and vows and documents and signing, things like that. And so look for that. Maybe now you planted a seed then, and now you can sign away on the dotted line in the 2 weeks that follow the new moon. With Lilith here, there's a 3-day window, maybe March 7th, 8th, and 9th. That might be really important somehow. You also could find that you have this energy of where you're melting your wings of Icarus and you together in the house of you. When the sun shines in the house of you, it's a time to look at yourself, put the spotlight on you, look inward. And it's Pisces season. Sometimes it can help you increase your vitality and your radiance, but also just look within. And now you've got Icarus saying, I'm melting. I can't go that high. What is it that you're overdoing, or where are you overreaching, and how can you look at that and go, what a nice warning. I don't want to melt and fall from the sky. Where have you been uncertain or confused about what it is you're supposed to do in your purpose? Sun can be about purpose in the house of you, and now you're ruminating. And Mercury here, you may be a little confused, but you can also be getting great dreams at night with Neptune Mercury to help you clear and understand, or visions, meditations, and trance states to really hypnosis even take you deeper into yourself. There's disruption and excitement and exhilaration and change when Uranus is in the third house regarding trips, travel, and sibling relationships, regarding aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews, regarding skills-based learning, regarding things like that, all the third house meanings. So if you have your own business, this is your online website, your platform, your social media outreach, but there's like electricity down there, right? And it's jolting and bolting towards that energy of the moon in your seventh. Maybe it's going to open up a gateway to new clients, new customers, new audience, but it can also have a significant energy around a trip with a significant other, or some changes regarding sibling relationships as it connects you to your marriage partner or your significant other, or even for some of you, just simply a trip or journey could happen with a sibling, because of a sibling, or with or because of a significant life mate partner or business partner. I would lastly say that because you have so much energy here with the North Node Uranus conjunction in your third house back in the day, back in the last week of July, first week of August, go back to that time. What were you doing then that may imply that you're going to have a big change of direction over 15 years in your third house? For some of you, it means a dramatic change of neighborhood. A real shift, or some kind of dramatic change of a sibling relationship, or some kind of shifting of something to do with what you want to teach or learn in this world, but skills-based really, or a movement towards using the online world as a part of your identity and your life and your outreach in the world, because the online world and the websites is what's down there. Alrighty. Okay. I hope that you guys can't see that a client just tried to come into my room. I do have a reading now. Thanks for listening. And this goes to my Patreon community at least 4 or 5 days before you get it. This is recorded on February 22nd. If you want to get this content ahead of time, just jump into my Patreon community. It's ad free, $5 a month plus 2 meetings of me a month. And by the way, thank you for listening. If you're in my live premiere, I've kept forgetting to say, hit that like button during this video. So you guys know the drill. Please, finish strong with me and hit my like button. Alrighty, I'm getting out of here, and my client is early, and I am going to go see my client. Ciao, ciao.